Because I believe in the game, I want to do all I can to save it. The game of football within my lifetime was, to put it plainly, a horrible mess. It is, of course, still a good manly sport, and I approve of good manly sport. And there are very few sports indeed where there is no risk involved. But from my time at Harvard, the game of football had become very unsportsmanlike, with numerous terrible practices, becoming downright violent. This was, of course, not a universal truth. Preparatory schools, for example, were very much trying to keep the game clean. My son Ted played in numerous games, and he received his fair share of cuts and bruises, and the occasional broken collarbone. But that was nothing in comparison to the collegiate level and amateur level games. In the year 1905, in addition to the brain concussion, the spinal injuries, the broken ribs, there were over a dozen deaths attributed to football, and the very terrible practices such as uncontrolled pile-ups and other unsportsmanlike manoeuvres that had been approved by coaches and persuaded the team players that they could get away with it if they were not caught breaking the rules. Well, this was a terrible behaviour to administer into our children. Well, I am no mere sentimentalist, but I do not think that killing should be a normal accompaniment to our games. There were those, of course, who wished to do away with the game entirely, and I believe that there should be rules involved to keep the risk as minimal as possible. But it is a mere unmanly folly to do away with the sport simply because the risk exists. And so on the 9th of October, 1905, I called to the White House coaches and other representatives of Harvard and Princeton and Yale, and I informed them that football is on trial, and I wanted to help them save it. I wanted to make sure that they were willing to abide by the spirit and letter of the rules. And by the next day, they had submitted a signed statement to be released to the press. At meeting with the President of the United States, it was agreed that we consider an honourable obligation existed to carry out in letter and spirit the rules of the game of football relating to roughness, holding, and foul play. And the active coaches of our universities being present, pledged themselves to so regard it, and to do their utmost to carry out these obligations. As with any organisation involving hierarchy and committees, nothing changed overnight. But by the spring of 1906, there had been established the Intercollegiate Athletic Association of the United States, and they submitted and had approved new rules for the game of football, including the changing of the first down from 5 yards to 10 yards, also including and accepting the once questionable forward pass, and making other rules so the game would be safer. It did not happen overnight, but change seldom does. But the changes occurred so that future generations of football players could continue to inspire us to not flinch, not foul, and to hit the line hard.